After 6 years of being apart due to the death of their parents, Akiko Himenakoji moves to the dormitory where her brother, Akito, lives. They are both enrolled at St. Liliana High School. She has a brother complex and is excited to live with him. However, Akito is surprised at Akiko's precociousness, such as her demanding he peep on her in the shower or expecting them to share a lover's night on the floor. However, Akito denies all of her advances, greatly disappointing Akiko. The next morning, Akiko tries to explain to Akito her brother complex, but the latter attempts to change the subject. Akiko says that as a reward for making breakfast, she would like some form of a physical award from him, but he rebuffs her. Later, Akito apologizes to Akiko that they live in a shabby dormitory, and because of this there is extra work to be done. But Akiko is happy just to be living with her brother. Akiko declares her love to Akito and he reciprocates, interpreting it as a sibling display of love. She faints from happiness hearing those words, but is annoyed when she learns that there are other girls living at the same dormitory. The other girls of the dormitory, all of whom are infatuated with Akito, are the members of the student council, the president, the eye-patch-clad and sexually aggressive Arashi Nikaido, the vice president, the rather dry Anastasia Nasuhara, and the accountant, the earnest Ginbei Hiromi Sawatari. Akiko is also the secretary, while Akito is a special assistant, simply so they could spend more time with him. But Akiko is jealous when he interacts with them. During dinner, the girls fight over who gets to sit next to Akito and spoon-feed him, and make various cases as to why they should be the one to feed him, such as how Ginbei cooked the food for him. Akiko is stubborn and declares that she alone holds the right to spoon-feed Akito as she is his sister. Akito and Akiko live in the same room, separated only by a thin divider. He goes to her side to complain about her muffled laughter, where he learns she was reading a brother-sister love manga written by Shindo Koichiro. Although somewhat disturbed, Akito wants to respect Akiko's preferences and says he will pretend he didn't see her reading the manga if Akiko keeps it out of his way from now on. The next day, Akito meets with his editor, Jino Karuko, at a cafe to talk about his manuscript. It is revealed that Akito himself is Shindo Koichiro, a pen name he uses when writing his brother-sister novels. The next day, Akiko once again misunderstands Akito's indifference to her as him simply pretending to be a tsundere and resolves to get him to act like one properly. She wants to spend more time with him, but she constantly must attend classes that prevent her from doing so, which allow the other members of the student council to each have alone time with Akito. Anastasia goes into Akito's classroom and invites him to a picnic next weekend, acting like a tsundere. Ginbei gives Akito some handmade cookies she baked and talks about how Akito hasn't made any friends in his class. They argue for a while, but the people around them view it as a lover's quarrel. Arashi invites Akito into a room for a private meeting and attempts to seduce him. This almost works, but Akiko suddenly enters the room, unlocking the door with her own key. Akiko learns that the reason why Akito hasn't made any friends is because her obsessive attitude scares people away, so she decides to just visit him once every 2 break periods, which Akito points out isn't very different. Anastasia later invites Akito into her room and talks about her dreams of being a comedian. Additionally, having been born in an affluent family, she has yet to unpack, used to the fact that she had servants to do grunt work for her before. She asks Akito to help her unpack her boxes, but instead, he suggests he teach her how to. She agrees and learns from Akito on how to unpack her room, such as folding away her clothes and boxes. However, as Akito approaches the last box, a frantic Anastasia tackles it, accidentally spilling the contents. Various stuffed toys she has personally named. Akito calls her cute, which flusters her. The next day, while Akiko and Akito are having lunch, Anastasia sits down with them and asks Akito if she can be his girlfriend, much to Akiko's shock. She teases the two of them by demonstrating the 3-second rule, which surprises Akito and causes Akiko to faint from embarrassment. While Ginbei is cooking dinner, Akito arrives at the dorm and brings her some cake, which he suggests they eat in her room. Ginbei is flustered, but is annoyed that Akito is oblivious to the fact that she is a girl, despite them being childhood friends all these years. When tea spills on Ginbei, Akito quickly tries to wipe it away, which Ginbei beats him for. While in Anastasia's room, Akito asks why she hasn't decorated her room with her dolls yet. Anastasia, a bit embarrassed, relents, showing Akito an overwhelming number of dolls, though Akito finds it cute. She then presents Akito with a doll made in her image, causing Akito to point out that using her family's conglomerate, Nasuhara Heavy Industries, to make personal items like this is an abuse of power. When Akito tries to leave without trying anything, Anastasia is insulted and ends up straddling him. However, this backfires as Anastasia is the one embarrassed instead. The student council wants to decide on new nicknames for Akito. Ginbei wants to continue calling him Akito. Arashi wants to call him Prey, while Anastasia opposes Aki, but Akito rejects all of these. Akiko arrives and declares that only she can call Akito Oni-chan, as a symbol of their bond with each other. The girls tease her by implying she has a terminal illness, scaring her away. The next day, Akito receives a call from his editor, Jino, about a short story contest targeted to younger girls, and overhears Akito over the phone, where she learns she is his sister. Kaoruko is mortified, thinking that Akito and Akiko are in an actual incestuous relationship, and resolves to set him straight. When Akito arrives at her office that weekend, she attempts to seduce him, but she fails. Despite Akito's reassurances that he does not actually love Akiko in that way, Jino remains unconvinced. Later, Arashi enters a shed Akito is organizing, and Akiko locks them inside, not knowing the two are there. Arashi takes advantage of these conditions by attempting to assault Akito, whose various attempts to escape fail. However, when Arashi finally pounces on him, Akito notices a jar about to fall on her head, so he tackles her out of the way. Akiko, investigating the loud noises from the shed, enters to see Akito pinning Arashi to the ground, angering her. Jino is still worried if Akito has a sister complex or not, and decides to visit the dormitory. She meets the rest of her student council, who is still unaware of the nature of Akito's work. Arashi attempts to harass Jino, but Akito restrains her. Jino asks them if Akito has a sister complex, which they all confirm. But Akiko arrives and refutes this notion, confidently proclaiming that she has a brother complex. This greatly worries Jino even more, where the rest of the student council reveal that the reason they moved into the dormitory complex was to make sure that the two siblings have as little alone time together as possible. The next day, the student council proposed that Akito live in a separate room, which he agrees to. This devastates Akiko, and she cries herself to sleep. Akito later enters her room to comfort her, but she was only pretending to be asleep. The next day, the new manager arrives, Takenomiya Arisa, with whom Akito has been living with before moving into the dormitory. She reveals that she is Akito's fiancé, shocking everyone. During a student council meeting, Akiko voices her disapproval of Arisa and with Akito's engagement to her. But the rest of the student council has no qualms, as Arisa has been doing all her duties well so far, remarking she would make a good housewife. Akito considers Arisa as another little sister and tries to get Akiko and Arisa to get along, but Akiko is adamant about preserving her status as Akito's only sister. Later, they all go out and enjoy a picnic by the park, where they enjoy Arisa's home cooking, but Akiko attempts to nitpick and find faults in Arisa's food. Arashi suggests that Akiko and Arisa have a contest with Akito as the judge to settle their differences. But if Arisa wins, Akiko can no longer complain about her. Akiko decides on various contests, including swings, approaching a cat, and badminton, but she ends up failing at all of them, forcing her to accept Arisa as the dorm manager. Arisa points out to Akiko that loving Akito publicly brings nothing but trouble, but this does not sway Akiko. Arisa declares that she is a fiancé and a far better fit for Akito, which earns Akiko's respect. They later bond over their mutual love for Akito. The dorm girls go to the mall and try on various swimsuits for an upcoming beach trip. When they arrive home, they decide to have Akito pick out whose swimsuit makes him hot and bothered the most. And Arashi tells the girls of a secret prize, which convinces Ginbei to enter, who originally did not plan to. Akito enters Arisa's room first and finds her in a school swimsuit, but also in a pair of wings and halo developed by Anastasia's company. Akito initially does not say anything, but calls Arisa cute when she begins to tear up. He then enters Anastasia's room, where he finds her in a custom catgirl swimsuit, also developed by her parents' company, much to Akito's dismay. When she goes into Ginbei's room, she is in the same green bikini that Akiko picked out for her, but her paddings fall out, embarrassing her. Akito enters Arashi's room, where she reveals herself to be naked, causing him to run out. When Akito enters Akiko's room, he compliments her outfit, but she is irritated that he called it average and attempts to use the same tricks the others used earlier, but Akito says he has already seen it all. Akito learns that Jino has entered the contest, but he slowly closes the door behind her. Unable to choose one winner, Akito exhaustedly says that everyone wins. Arashi then reveals the prize. Everyone gets to choose what Akito will wear to the beach. However, they simply pretend to go to the beach by staying in the bathroom. Everyone remains in their swimsuits for the whole day, as they feel it is a waste otherwise. Akito goes to meet with Jino the next day, and she is also in her swimsuit, but he ignores this. Akito follows Ginbei behind the school, where he sees her cuddling with a cat. but accidentally makes a sound, alerting Ginbei to his presence. Akiko and her friends suddenly arrive too, but Ginbei took the chance to escape. Akito later develops a fever, forcing him to delay submitting his manuscript, while all the girls take turns taking care of him, as they all feel responsible for his well-being. Arisa is the first to, preparing Akito various meals and medicines to help him get better, but is mortified when this includes a fried leek for a rectal insertion. When it's Anastasia's turn, she is unable to do anything, but attempts to kiss Akito as a good luck charm instead. When Akito opens his eyes and sees her about to kiss him, she makes up an excuse and leaves. Akiko gently gives Akito a lap pillow and reassures her that she'll be by his side forever. That night, Ginbei enters Akito's room, where a sleeping Akito pulls Ginbei into his futon, where she hears him dreaming about Ginbei when they were kids. Although touched, she still feels upset that Akito does not treat her like a girl due to the incident in the past. All the while, Jino has slowly been getting sick herself, and she believes that the illness transferred from Akito to her through the phone, which she declares as an editor's greatest sacrifice. A decade prior, Akito and Ginbei meet at a school in Tokyo, where Akito attempts to befriend her, despite how coldly Ginbei acts. Ginbei attempts to dissuade Akito by getting other boys and girls to be friends with him instead, despite Akito's protests. Ginbei is frustrated at Akito's persistence and ends up staying home to avoid him. Akito visits Ginbei at her home, where he challenges her to a fight to blow off some steam, as even he admits that although he was wrong in his approach to Ginbei, he was also mad at how Ginbei used roundabout tactics to hinder him. They have a fist fight, which Ginbei eventually wins, where Ginbei reveals why she is so cold. She does not want to be just any friend, but a best friend, and Akito agrees. The two start to undress to shower, where it is revealed that this whole time, Akito thought that Ginbei was a boy. Back in the present, Ginbei remarks that one day she'll get Akito to notice her as a girl and leaves his room. The next morning, everyone wants Akito to choose who nursed him the best, and Akito chooses Arashi, but learns that the agreed-upon reward is that the winner can spend time with Akito alone in their room, without any interference from the others. However, Arashi is surprisingly polite and well-mannered, dressed in traditional robes without her eye patch, befitting her background of a noble family. She later explains she was going for a contrast in personality, and Akito remarks it was a nice change of pace. Later, Anastasia cannot find any underwear to put on, as her room is a mess and is incapable of tidying up. She hears Arisa scream and gets dressed without them. She arrives to see the rest of the dorm tenants responding to a crying Arisa outside the dorm, who says she saw something move in the darkness. Akito jokes it is a ghost, which scares everyone, including Arashi, who was acting tough. When Akiko works up the courage to go with her, everyone else ends up going with Akito to check out the ghost. They reach a wall, and Akito takes turns lifting the girls up on their shoulders one by one. However, when it's Anastasia's turn, Akito realizes she has no underwear on. Suddenly, a crow startles the group, causing them to separate. Akito is with Arashi, Anastasia is with Akiko, and Ginbei is with Arisa. Anastasia recalls that when she first met Akiko 6 years ago, she was interested in her, and how loudly she proclaimed her love for her brother. Anastasia learns of the circumstances behind their separation, and is intrigued by what kind of person Akito is. Jino awakens from a dream where she lived in the dorm room together with everyone else, alongside their children with Akito. She remarks she still has a fever. A year before the start of the events, Anastasia confronts Akito as he looks at the school. Anastasia accompanies him, under the pretext of preventing him from doing anything perverted, but is very interested in Akito. She explains to him that when she looks at him, she can't help but be nervous and say vulgar things, despite her rather flat-toned voice, and even offers to let Akito take home the panties she is currently wearing. Akito declines, which greatly intrigues Anastasia, who remarks many men would die for this chance. The two become friends, and Anastasia is grateful, as she is able to spend time with both the popular Akiko and the man she is interested in. Back in the present, Akiko calls Anastasia's attention, who has trailed off in her thoughts. Anastasia asks for hypothetical help, and what would Akiko do if she did not have any panties to wear, and she earnestly gives solutions. Anastasia confides in Akiko, telling her that her life has changed ever since she came into her life, and she kisses Akiko on the cheek, flustering her. The group makes their way back to the dorm, having not found anything. Suddenly, Jino appears, whom they assume was the ghost Arisa saw. Suddenly, green lights appear in the bushes, causing everyone to be afraid, latching onto Akito. But it turns out it was just kittens. However, actual will-o-wisps appear, causing everyone to be afraid once more, and they all sleep in Akito's room for the night. The next day, Akiko, dressed in traditional garb, tells them how lonely she has been while they were apart. Akito reassures her that she has done wonderfully as a little sister and that he will be there by her side to protect her. Akiko attempts to seduce Akito again, who sends her out of his room, much to her dismay. In an internal dialogue, Akito reveals that he and Akiko are not blood-related siblings at all, and all him refusing her advances thus far was out of great self-control. He resolves not to let her find out, as this is the only thing that keeps her from trying anything too outrageous. That night, Akiko has once again slipped into Akito's futon.